going into last season, you had to compensate for the fact that it might have, it'd been months and months and months and months, and your team had been together and adjust practice plans, things like that. Given that you just played a season in the spring, kind of the same, different challenge, but similar challenge. Have you had to kind of compensate for that in training, off-season training and preparation for this season?
Yeah, we got with our sports science guys, looked at, with our medical team, looked at where people were at in terms of injuries they picked up last season and things like that. So we planned it all out. Everyone was on an individualised plan with the idea to bring them back and peaking for this game that we've got coming up here against Fresno. So our medical team, performance team, did an outstanding job of setting us up for success.
Did it feel much different than a normal preseason then?
It felt strange. I was telling Lisa Peterson, it's my first true collegiate preseason since 2014. So it felt very different from the spring. The spring, it was still an unknown. I mean, are games going to go ahead? What happens if games get cancelled and things like that? So it's felt different, but it's been really enjoyable.
I know you said too, you thought maybe there were some things you had to compensate and adjust for last year that you might carry forward.
Yeah.
Has that proven to be the case? There are one or two things that, what are some things that have carried forward?
Some of the teaching and how we've done some of that stuff, some of the different exercises, how we spaced players out, that really helped us once we got into games last year. So we've continued with some of those exercises, and their exercises are student athletes know now, and they know that they're effective.
At least for Leah, and not just her, but a lot of your other freshmen, I mean, they didn't really have a reference point of what a normal college soccer season looked like. Does it appear different when they're out there, just of what normal is to them now, and that they maybe feel a little bit more comfortable with all this?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a hierarchy here in terms of freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, so we treat everyone the same, and we obviously know that some of our student athletes need more guidance, but we do it across the board with everyone and try and keep everyone on the same page.
What was the conversation you had with her specifically after the season she had as a freshman, kind of where to take that and utilizing your goalkeeping expertise, where to go from there?
Yeah, I think we looked at the areas where we conceded goals, in terms of some of those pieces, with some of the set pieces, a few little technical things here and there, and we just had conversations about where she could start to evolve. Physically, she's done a great job again in terms of making sure that part of her game is improved as well. So she's done a great job, and now she has a different challenge now with Maddie Goldberg coming in, who's a really good goalkeeper within her own right. So it's going to be a good competition between those two over the next 4 years.
Anna Winter getting some time in the back line in the exhibition. I mean, is that somebody who is going to contend for real minutes there in the back to start the season?
Yeah. Both Anna and Alicia, they've both played in the back line, and they've done really, really well. We've looked at Megan Rucker across the back line as well. So we feel at least this season we have more depth across that back line for sure.
Anna said coming across Pond, she feels like things are a lot quicker. Is that normal for somebody making that transition, or does that reflect how you want to play specifically?
No, it's the American game in general. I mean, that's why we're so successful at the international level. I think the speed and the if you look at our professional league, it's a completely different ball game compared to anywhere else across the world. And you look at the pace and power of the national teams, that's the exact same thing, and it translates from the collegiate game. And the collegiate game is just fast, it's athletic, good technical players obviously, but it's just a different pace than what she's been used to. She'll be fine, she'll adjust. I mean, she's playing against really good athletes here every single day, and that helps.
In the exhibition, Lexi came off. It looked like she had picked up a head knock or anything like that. Is there an update on her status?
She's day to day. Our medical staff are taking care of her, and so we'll assess her as it goes day to day.
Was it a concussion, or was it?
She went into protocol yet, so Brian and Doc are taking care of that one for us.
Ali said she's feeling some pressure as a goal scorer, particularly as well as the defense played last year. She wants the offense to complement him, and she feels some pressure. I'm sure you don't want her playing with too much pressure, but hearing her say that in light of the game the other day, and it took a while to break through, but then she did. What was that match like for her? Did you sense pressure building on her to back that up, and then was there relief when she did it?
She's a really driven young woman. Academically she's off the charts. So I think she'll put pressure on herself no matter what she does in life. So it's no, we don't put any pressure on them. We know that if we do certain things within a game from a performance standpoint, then we'll get the results that we need.
Do you have an update on Harrington? Is she ready to play right now?
She's close. She's probably a week or two out, but she's pretty close. I mean, if you asked her, I think she got cleared by the doctors and was ready to play a week later. So it's we're just making sure that we're taking care Kara Callan, she's someone who has got a huge future here in the long term, and so we want to make sure we take care of her in that long term as well.
Was that a knee for her?
No, I thought so.
That front line of Jordan and Allie just seems like it's poised to do some pretty good things this year, and both of them mentioned that because they've been able to go out to dinner, go do things off the field now that some of the restrictions are lifted, that chemistry has just improved a lot more going out onto the field to play. I mean, have you seen that, especially from your frontline players, just that comfortability kind of growing?
Yeah, across the entire group, we did our first ever team building activity. We took them out to the lake over I think it was Loon Lake. We took them to at the start of pre-season. That was the first time we'd done it with the entire group, and so it's been good. It's been great just to get them together. In the fall, in the spring, it was all about them eating meals in their rooms just with their roommate. It was about no team meetings. If we did have a team meeting, we were in such a big room that it just didn't really have that vibe to it and stuff. So we've tried to let that piece happen organically. I'm not a big fan of forced team building activities, so we've kind of let it happen organically, and they've done a good job with it. But we've got firepower across all of our players in the front line. In the midfield with Zoe, with Shaw, with Kess, Lexi, Ali Cook, Eden. I mean, they've all scored goals for us, so it's our job to continue to put them in positions where they can be successful.
I'd imagine that because there hasn't been much time between the spring season and this, marked jumps in improvement for players probably might not be the same as it would be from, one fall season to another. Yeah. But even still, is there anybody that you've seen come out here in the preseason where you're like, wow, they've made some semblance of a jump from where they were in say, March, April to where they are now going into this year?
Yeah, Maya Hahn had done an exceptional job. We challenged Maya. She didn't play much at all last season. We challenged Maya from the physical side of things to say, hey, listen, where can you get yourself to? She's gone away and worked incredibly hard. Lexi Romero came back. I think she had opportunities to score. We need her to get that first goal, and then she'll be flying. But she, making the jump from Mountain West to the Pac-12 it's a big jump, and so she had worked hard physically as well. Leah Freeman's continued her development. Megan Rooker's done an incredible job with her development. Mia Palmer's continued to get stronger, technically on the ball, making good decisions. So I could pick up virtually our entire roster in terms of that's the type of environment that we have to keep moving forward. As Mario would say, keeping the foot down on the gas. So
you've talked about physicality since you got here. You got a test in that regard the other night.
Yeah.
How do you think your team responded, and did you feel like you've seen progress since you got here of being able to have more of a presence?
For sure. It's part of that comes from the physical side of things in terms of the fitness side, that you've got to be able to get close to teams in order to be able to have the physical side of things. I think we led the Pac-12 in fouls last year, which I don't want to become that type of team, but it tells us that we're competitive within games and that we're close within games, and so yeah, we need to continue to be able to put pressure on opponents for sure.
You guys played so many close matches last year, and while I'm sure it must be nice to get a 3-4-0 win every once in a while, knowing that your team can be composed and grind out those tough situations, how do you see that carrying into this year?
It gives you a certain amount of experience. It really does. Game management things. When you're up 2-0, Oregon State, and what do you do in the last 20 minutes? You keep running, or do you've got a game the next weekend? Can you manage the game? Can you slow the game down? And so they've done a really good job with that piece, and that's a hard thing to do in terms of the maturity piece of that. We've jumped on board in terms of that game management really well.
Now that you've had this first year, I think there were some teams that you maybe caught by surprise in your first season. I think about that Stanford game out here in the rain. Pac-12 teams are going to know what Graeme Abel's Ducks kind of look like now a little bit. What do you do to keep things fresh and to also up that mental game of knowing that this might not be the no one knows who we are and what we're bringing. They know what the commodity is at this point.
It's across the board from our staff through to our student athletes that we have to make sure we prepare our student athletes a certain way. We're not going to prepare them any differently than we did last season. We prepared them, the way we expect to going forward, and that's covering every single detail. And they have to understand now that no one's going to take us for lightly. And so we have to make sure that we're ready to go straight from every kickoff and to get after it. And teams might not wait for 15 minutes to then try and get after it like it maybe happened last season in a few games. So again, it'll be another learning piece for us, but I know a piece that the group are excited about.